A progressive and feminist woman left the United States after Trump's electoral victory, and now she regrets it and begs to come back.
If you're an American considering leaving the country to move somewhere else, make sure the place you choose isn't based on fear or a scarcity mindset. I regret moving to Costa Rica.
To Costa Rica? Well, it's not a bad country.
It's a beautiful country. I love nature and wildlife. Moving to a third world country, not knowing the language and lacking connections, resources, or opportunities didn't make my life easier at all. I was so scared by the political situation in the United States that I went into fight or flight mode. I was thinking, how am I going to be able to survive financially? Like, how am I going to find a place to live? I mean, I was losing my mind, and then I came here and made my life even more complicated.
Seriously, I don't think Costa Rica is a difficult or complicated country to live in, not at all. In fact, as an American, I think you have a number of advantages and benefits that the average Costa Rican doesn't have. But let's see how, in reality, the problem isn't Costa Rica, it's her. Please pay attention.
And now I'm trying to come back, and I just wish I had never left. It's strange to want to move to the United States right now, given everything happening. But I left behind many privileges and resources, and I want them back.
What did he leave behind? Starbucks, McDonald's, and I think they have that in Costa Rica. Actually, let's see, speaking of coffee, Costa Rica has one of the best coffees in the world. Here's a list of the world's largest coffee producers. We can see that number 1 and 2 are Brazil, Vietnam, Indonesia, but in the 17th place is Costa Rica. So yes, Costa Rica is one of the biggest coffee producers in the world.
It is. It's crap, but I grew up in a kind of interesting way. I was like the poorest person in the richest environments. For most of my childhood, I was extremely rich until I was about 6 years old. I had a beautiful mansion by the sea with a private beach and pool, and then my parents got divorced, and I ended up with a father who didn't have any money, so we lived in things like trailers, hotels, and low-income housing, but I was still in these really privileged situations. I was in a private school at debutante balls and taking dance classes, and I always thought I was so poor because I was the poorest person I knew. And all my friends had millionaire or billionaire parents. Now that I've traveled, I've seen what real poverty is.
Do you see how this woman is totally disconnected from reality? And look, one of the things I've noticed, because I've had the opportunity to visit several countries around the world. I live abroad, I live in Asia. One thing I've noticed is that Americans many times can find a better quality of life outside the United States than in the United States itself. Yes, just like you heard, it's due to the exchange rate and the dollar's value. They earn in dollars and arrive in a country like Costa Rica or a country in Southeast Asia, and they can find an extremely higher quality of life. A quality of life they wouldn't find if they were in the United States. How could this woman not achieve it? The answer is simple. She's useless. As I always say, the devil is in the details. And if you analyze very carefully what this woman is saying, if you analyze her words, you'll realize that in reality, nothing she claims to have or to have had in the United States was achieved by herself. She got all those privileges thanks to her family, thanks to her environment, but she didn't achieve them on her own.
And I think, oh, wasn't she poor? But as a child, I had really luxurious vacations, thanks to my friends and family, where, for example, my first time in Costa Rica was when I was 17 years old. I came with my friend's family, and we stayed at exclusive resorts, we had lunch at the Four Seasons, and the same thing happened with my experiences in Hawaii. My family's friends took me, and we stayed at the Grand Wailea and the Hyatt. Oh, these really fancy luxury resorts.
See? She unknowingly just answered herself here. She went to Costa Rica, she went to Hawaii, and she had a life of luxury. When she went on vacation together with her family and family friends, she stayed in 5-star hotels, in top hotels. She was able to live a wonderful life. What does that mean? That in Costa Rica, of course, it's possible to live well. So the problem isn't Costa Rica, the problem is her, that she doesn't know how to adapt to another country, that she doesn't know how to adapt to another environment. And that she depends on someone else to be able to have the quality of life and the privileges she loves so much. Interesting.
And we also explored the areas, but You know, living in Nanabili or Pahoa is very different from vacationing at the Grand Wiley or the Four Seasons. So, you know, with my travels and moving around, I've really realized how privileged I've been. And there are many things that like made me run away from Los Angeles and Orange County. Some traumatic experiences and terrible people, but I also left a lot of resources and wonderful people behind. And I need to be in those environments again. I really miss the luxury environments.
Of course, what she loves is the luxury she could access when she was with her family and acquaintances. That's what she truly misses. Not California or the United States. It's the luxury she is no longer able to access nowadays. And it's not because Costa Rica doesn't have luxury. It's not because luxury is exclusive to the United States. It's because she herself can't afford that luxury. In fact, here we're going to see several comments that say, a liberal woman fled Donald Trump's United States and accidentally moved to a third world country. Now she wants to return. Please don't. But there are people who respond, I lived in Costa Rica, probably the easiest country to visit. An easy mix of English and Spanish with huge retirement benefits for expatriates. Many Americans and Canadians go there. There is no national cuisine. You can easily find Italian, Mexican, and American food. She's an idiot in two countries, totally agree. That's what happens to this woman. No matter which country she goes to, the same thing will always happen to her. The issue isn't the country, it's her. The issue is that this woman relied on another person to sustain her privileged lifestyle. And now that she's alone, well, she has to settle for the crumbs of what she once had. But seriously, the problem is her, not Costa Rica. And I know some of you might think that maybe the problem is the language, and people in Costa Rica don't speak English either. I'm telling you from my own experience, I went to live in Thailand and South Korea, two countries where English is unspoken. I currently live in Malaysia, but in Malaysia, honestly, the vast majority of people do have a high level of English. And even though in Thailand, I would dare to say that there's a certain percentage of the population that speaks English, the reality is that many people don't speak it. So you go to a store and the clerk mostly speaks Thai. How do you communicate? How? I'll be clear. You always find a way to do it, even in the worst case scenario with Google Translate. But you always find a way to communicate. Seriously, it's not a problem at all. So yes, this woman who is now begging to go back to the United States, actually, it's not like she found herself in a country as difficult as Costa Rica. No. What happened to her is that she doesn't know how to live without her family, without her circle, without her loved ones, without her acquaintances, because they guarantee her a quality of life that she can't achieve on her own. That's the harsh reality for this woman and many others in the United States, especially progressive feminists. This is the harsh reality. Gentlemen, I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Thanks for watching and see you next time.